What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 12, Episode 7, Allegation Aggravation. So we start off where we left off with the last episode, where all the guys had gone out together for dinner and drinks. And at this particular moment that we're at, Bill and Evan had gotten into it over Jennifer. Evan was basically calling out Bill's wife, Jennifer, for being very messy, for being destructive, because she was perpetrating rumors about him not being faithful, and also trying to dig up information on this alleged mistress of his. So he thought that was really shady, and he was like, he manned up and he was like, you know what, your wife is really awful for doing that. And Bill couldn't take the heat. What could he do? So he gets up and he leaves. So Frank Catania follows him out and wants him to come back and rejoin the guys. And Bill was like, you know what, I'm good. I don't feel like hanging out with y'all today, but what upset Nabil also was the fact that it wasn't even his wife that started the rumors. It was Teresa. Teresa was the one that started the rumors, but now Jennifer's taking the heat. And he just doesn't understand that. Well, yeah, she's taking the heat because she's fueling the fire on these rumors. She's the one that's digging up information. She's keeping these things alive. So that's why your wife is taking the heat for the rumors that Teresa started. So Frank says that drama's for the women and the fun is for the men. Louie arrives after Nabil leaves. Louie arrives. He sits down with the guys. They get him caught up on what happened with Nabil. And then Teresa calls Louie, to check on him, to make sure that he's okay. I guess, that the other little boys are playing nice with him. And this whole thing of her being so overprotective over Louie, she feels like she has to fight all of his battles for him. I wonder how long Louie's going to take that, because I'm getting impatient with it. So they begin to grill Louie on all of these weird allegations that are circulating about him. Tiki Barbara straight out asks him, so what's up with these rumors on the internet that you were abusive towards your ex-girlfriend and you were smacking her around in front of her kids? Louie says that the woman that started the rumor basically did it for attention, and she's an angry ex and she's thirsty for attention. And he says that that same woman allegedly had stabbed her ex-boyfriend with a butcher knife. So it's okay that you denied what she said and you're accusing her of being thirsty and looking for attention and that she's full of it. That's fine. You're defending yourself. But for you to bring up something that she did, I think that it's just as bad as her talking about you smacking her around. If you're saying that what she did wasn't true, how do you know if you're talking about the things that she said about you were not true, then how do you know what she did was true? So it didn't make any sense for him to say that. Like, why do you want to bring her down by saying that? Just say, look, she's a liar. I didn't do that to her. And leave it at that, instead of, oh, and by the way, she's the abusive one because she's going around stabbing people. Because it really reminds me of like when a man gets arrested for hitting a woman, and then when the cops show up, he'll say, oh, but she hit me first. I was just defending myself. That's the feeling that I got when he was talking about his ex stabbing her ex. So, Joe Gorga decides, you know what? If you can't beat him, join him. He's like, I'm going to try to get along with Louie. This is the guy that my sister chose. And if I want to, keep it good and copacetic with Teresa, I have to keep it good and copacetic with Louie. So the next morning, all the men wake up with serious hangovers, except for Evan. Evan is already up at the crack of dawn. He's already gotten his workout in. And his wife asked him, why are you so chipper in the morning after having such a long night? And he said, well, because I drink as much water as I drink alcohol to, I guess, keep the hangover at bay. So Margaret and her Joe are talking about the night before, and Joe tells her that when the question came up about him smacking his ex-girlfriend around, he said that he didn't do it, and he said that his ex-girlfriend had actually stabbed her ex. And Margaret was like, oh, okay, he's trying to be real slick by trying to turn the tables on her. Whatever the situation is, Margaret, if you don't have proof of any of these things, let it go. Leave it alone. There's no proof that he was abusing his ex-girlfriend. I'm assuming there's no proof that this ex-girlfriend stabbed her ex-boyfriend unless there's like a police report on it. Other than that, Margaret, and I like Margaret. I really do like Margaret. But Margaret, you need to get your own business. Get your own business. Concentrate on something else. Stop this obsession with Louie and focus on something else that's related directly to you. So then we see Louie telling Teresa, getting her caught up with what happened when he went out with the guys. And Teresa didn't like the fact that Tiki was, questioning him about his past. And Teresa thinks that Tiki's wife, Stacy, is the one that had put her husband up to those questions. So that makes her, dislike Stacy or Tracy, whatever her name is, even more. And so she really doesn't see it for her. So Evan is talking to Jackie, and he's talking about what happened between him and Nabil, and he says, what, I don't have an issue with Nabil personally. The whole issue is Jennifer. So if me and Nabil can just reconcile and move past this, I'm good with that. Now, one more thing: when the guys were out at dinner, the guys were everybody except for Frank Catania were in the agreement that Nabil should have checked Jennifer. Like somehow or another, he should have told her that what she's doing is wrong and, let her know that she was out of line, but still be good with the guys. They wanted him. It was like I guess they see it like him showing some type of loyalty to the guys or solidarity with the guys. If he would confront his wife and tell her that what she did was wrong. But what if he thinks that she didn't do anything wrong? Or what if he thinks that what she did was not wrong? So it was weird to me that Joe Gorga and Margaret's Joe and Evan, they all were like, yeah, he should have told her, he should have put her in her place and told her that what she did was wrong. I mean, can y'all tell your wives that? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So I just didn't understand that at all. But of course he's going to agree with his wife and be on his wife's side and defend his wife. Moving on from that. So Jennifer. Nabil tells Jennifer what happened with the guys, and Jennifer said that she was happy that he stood up for her. He was defending her character, even though she's a no good snake, but she still liked the fact that Nabil was defending her because he didn't do that the night of the barbecue. He left her out, by herself. And then, let her out to dry. And he didn't do anything that night. So she's happy that he finally came around and was finally defending her. So Jennifer says that she still wants him to show more emotion and to be more communicative. And Nabil says, I'm just not an emotional person. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to show their emotions. That's just not me. And she's like, she doesn't understand how he can be, incapable of showing any kind of emotion. Girl, the kind of man you married, okay? He's not that kind of guy that's going to be all expressive with his feelings and want to talk for 3 hours about how we all feel and what our emotions are. And just, he's not that kind of guy. He's not that kind of guy. And he's too old and too long in the tooth to become that guy now. So just accept what you have. He defended you. Wonderful. He apologized for the affair. Let's move on. So Dolores, she's at her her renovated home with her kids, and they talk about Dolores's mom and how she's doing. And Dolores was really worried about whether her mom could sustain the anesthesia, I guess because of her health being so bad. And the daughter tells her that she heard from David that her mother was healthy enough to sustain the anesthesia, and so she can go through with her surgery. So it's really crazy that it's David. I don't know if David is like the primary caregiver for Dolores's mom, like he's her main doctor, or if he's just able to get information directly from her main doctor. But whatever the situation is, the information that David has about Dolores's mother, he can't even tell Dolores directly because they're not talking. She has to get it from a third party. Moving on to Margaret. Margaret is hanging out with her friend Lexi. She decides to call Dolores up and ask her if she wanted to have a spa day because Margaret just wants to do something to kind of distract Dolores from her problems, worrying about her mom, and just kind of like, do something really special for Dolores. So she invites Dolores, and Dolores was down, and she told Dolores, I'm going to invite all the girls except Jennifer. I don't want no doings or dealings with Jennifer. So Teresa, we see her, she's in her home and she's in the bathroom putting on makeup, and she's there with Gia and her second oldest daughter. I forgot her name. It's not Adriana. it's not Melania. I can't remember her name. So she's there with her two girls, just putting on her makeup, I guess, because she's getting ready for her date with Louie because it is her first year anniversary. And she's really excited about that. So Gia said that she was really skeptical of Louie when her and Louie first began dating, when Teresa and Louie first began dating. She was very, very skeptical because of all the stuff that she was hearing about him. And Louie tries to reassure her daughter that, those were just rumors, just ignore them. He's not that guy. Her daughters also say that Teresa seems a lot happier now and that they're glad to see their mother smile again because Teresa has been through hell. She's been through so much hell. Number one, just being Joe Giudice's wife. And then after that, dealing with the aftermath of the whole tax thing, going to jail, seeing her husband go to jail, being without her kids, her parents passing away. She's been through so much. And so her daughters are really happy that she's finally in a space where she can smile again and be happy again. And regardless of how they feel about Louie, Louie is the one that's responsible right now for Teresa's happiness. So Teresa says that she really believes that her parents sent Louie to her. Now, I feel like, Teresa, she's silly. She's dumb. She's got the mind of a child. So she feels like there's nothing wrong with saying that. But I feel like things like that you should really keep to yourself because you don't know what the future holds. And you don't know what's going to end up with this, how this relationship is going to end up. And if this guy ends up beating the crap out of you or doing something, extremely crazy to like land you in jail or embarrass you or something like that, then what are you going to say then? Because people are going to bring it back and throw it right back to your face and say to you, oh, so this is the man that your parents brought to you. So she may believe that. That's fine if she does believe that because it may be true. Who knows? But I think she needs to keep that to herself because Louie is a little sketchy. And unfortunately, Teresa cannot see that or she refuses to see that. And I don't know if her parents wanted to put a man in her life that had all of these allegations swirling around him and all of these weird doings, this weird past of his. I don't think that, Nona and Nani or Nona and Nana would do this to Teresa, would put this kind of a man in her life. Moving on, Melissa, she's at home with her children and she's in the kitchen. She's there with Antonia and she's there with her son. Antonia, she's about to turn 16. So she's like in the middle of the teenager. Oh my God. I mean, she's being a typical teenager, a very typical teenager. She's in a bad mood. She has a whole bunch of attitude. Everything her mother does and says is irritating to her. So yeah, she's in the throes of teenagehood. So Melissa wants to give her a sweet 16 birthday party. Melissa talks about how she herself never had that because when she turned 16, she said that her and her mother were running away from her father. So they went to Florida and her experience in Florida was not very good. She started going to school there and she was being bullied a lot because she was this girl from Jersey with the big hair. So they were bullying her all the time. And then when her and her mom moved to Florida, this is when her father ended up passing away, I guess back in New Jersey. And so that was not a good year for her. And she herself didn't really celebrate her sweet 16 like that. So she wants to do it for her daughter, Antonia. But Antonia is like, nah, I'll pass. So Antonia is like super annoyed by her mom and she's upset that they ended up moving in the middle of her high school experience. She's just upset about having to move while she's still going to school. She was still attending her high school. Now she's going to have to go to a whole different school, make new friends, etc. And so it's very stressful for her and I can only imagine. And she tells her mom, we didn't have to move, when we did. We could have waited. And Teresa tries to explain to her daughter, no, we could not have waited. We had to move right then and there because, and then she starts talking about, how a house like that, it's really hard to sell. And so when we had a buyer, I guess we had to strike while, the pot was hot or whatever, however you say it. So we had to leave right then and there because we were not going to get a deal like that, anytime soon. So they had to take advantage of that. So Antonia, she's like, I don't believe you. We still could have waited. We didn't have to move exactly when we did. So then they start talking about cheer And Antonia evidently was in cheer and she was really good at it until she injured her ankle, her Achilles heel, I think. And so she had to be out for a while. And so Teresa tells her daughter, well, the doctor has given you the green light to go back into cheer. And Antonia says that no, she's not interested in doing cheer anymore. So she's not going to do it. And her mom was like, you need to get back into cheer. You were so good at it. You know, you really need to do it again. And Antonia's like, no, I don't. Just because the doctor gives me the okay doesn't mean I want to do it. And I don't want to do it. So in her confessional, Melissa is literally crying about her daughter not joining cheer again. And I'm pretty sure it's more than just that. I guess she just sees her daughter changing and she's not recognizing this person that has taken over her daughter's body. So she's just dealing with a lot, you know, with a 15, 16-year-old teenage girl. She's really going through it. Teresa, she's celebrating her first year, her 1 year anniversary with Louie. So he decides to send a car for her to pick her up, and it takes her to the pier or the docks, you know, where they have the boats. And he has a private dinner waiting for her in a private yacht, and also a solo saxophonist. Is that how you saxophone player playing music for them. So it's very romantic. There's, you know, flower petals everywhere, and you know the sun is setting, so it's like the atmosphere is like super romantic. And so they eat, they listen to the music, they exchange gifts. She gave him a bracelet, and he gave her, number one, this private dinner on the yacht, and he also gave her like this ginormous scroll. And when you unravel it, he had written the 20 things that he likes about Teresa. All of them are really sweet, really cute, whatever, except the part that said how he loves her voice, how much he loves her voice. I think he was trying to be funny with that because yeah, I don't believe it. So Teresa in her confessional says that, you know, Louie really listens to me because I had mentioned to him that I played the saxophone when I was in elementary school. So she thinks this is the reason why he got the saxophone player, because she herself had played the saxophone eons ago. So she's constantly pumping up this man like he is just the second coming of the Lord. Every chance she gets with whoever is willing to listen, she's constantly talking about how wonderful he is, how happy he makes her. And, you know, that's all good, but everybody else kind of sees little red flags in Louie. So it's kind of like we're sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for the other shoe to fall with this guy. And, you know, just really scared and nervous of how Teresa's going to deal with this situation when it goes south, because it seems like most likely this Louie situation is going to end up going south at some point. But I hope I'm wrong. So moving on to Margaret. It is spa day. All the women arrive, and the first thing they do is they talk about Jennifer. Teresa mentions that she thought Jennifer was going to come because she was talking to Jennifer and she had mentioned the spa day, and Jennifer didn't know what she was talking about. And so Teresa was like, oh, right. You were not in that group text that Margaret had sent out. So, the girls say that Jennifer should just apologize to, you know, to get back in with the group, to be good with everybody. And Jackie says, you know, she's burned way too many bridges for us to really deal with her now. And she just needs to apologize. And of course, you know, Teresa does not agree that Jennifer has to apologize for anything. Dolores shows up. Dolores gives an update about her mom. And then she's talking about how David is taking care of her mom, but she doesn't talk directly to him, so other people have to funnel the information to her. Then Melissa brings up her daughter Antonia, how she's got a hormonal teenager at home and things are just really crazy. And she says that the pandemic, moving, the injury, all of these has added on to Antonia's stress. Poor thing. So then Tracy leaves with Margaret for them to get their treatment. And so the remaining women, they start talking about Tracy. Somebody asked, you know, so what do y'all think about Tracy? And Jackie was like, oh my God, I love her. And then Teresa was like, yeah, I don't really care for her because she's just way too nosy. She's always asking questions about me and Louie and having her husband ask questions about us. So yeah, she's just a little bit too much for me. And so Margaret and Tracy come back. back and they start talking about Margaret exposing Bill's affair. And Teresa talks about how, you were really wrong for that. And even Dolores agrees to a point that, because of what Margaret did, Jennifer is like in a really bad place. She's just so emotional because she has to relive the whole situation. And now there's an added layer because now she has to tell everybody because it's going to be televised. Now she has to tell her family what went down, 10 years ago. So something that she thought she was over because she just pushed away her feelings. I guess, when it happened, Nabil probably gave her some weak apology. She just wanted to get back to being normal again, so she accepted it, and then they just moved on. They didn't go deep and heavy into why he did what he did and how it made her feel and, how it changed the dynamics of their marriage and possibly even go to therapy. None of that happened. It was just he got caught, he apologized. She was like, okay, whatever. And she probably had that whole thing of, boys will be boys. This is just how men are. I just have to accept it and move on. So Dolores talks about how we all need to just make peace and just move on. Jennifer, she's out to eat with her brother, and then she reveals that she did tell her mom about the affair, and her mom basically did exactly what Jennifer predicted her mom would do, which was just to blame Margaret, and it was all Margaret's fault and puts no blame at all on Nabil. So the brother asked her, well, how do you feel and how are you doing? And Jennifer says, well, it was one thing to deal with this in private, and it's like completely different to have to deal with it, with family and in front of the world. And so the brother says, well, you probably are dealing with things that you should have dealt with back then, because if you would have just taken care of it the right way back then, I'm not talking about Jennifer taking care of it, but I'm saying if she just would have really tried to, I don't know, not push it away, not ignore it, then she probably wouldn't have been going through what she was going through now. It wouldn't hurt as much now. So, Nabil and Jennifer just don't talk about it. She tells her brother, we don't talk about it. The guy like Nabil, what is he going to possibly say? He probably gave, like I said before, like a really short and curt apology. I was like, okay, I messed up. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. And that was it. And so, she tells her brother that when Bill is uncomfortable, he just doesn't talk. He's not very communicative when he doesn't feel like when something is like making him feel anxious or uncomfortable or he doesn't like it. He's just not going to talk. So Nabil is not willing to see a therapist. I guess she suggested that to her husband and he was like, no. And he says, she said that her husband told her if we go see a therapist, it's going to open up a Pandora's box that's not going to be able to be closed again. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's other issues here with the marriage. He's talking about a Pandora's box opening up. So there must be other issues that he doesn't want to have to deal with. So it seems like Jennifer and Nabil, and probably like a lot of marriages, they're just going through the motions of acting like a happy couple when they're not. The house, the money, all the material things that they have means nothing because Jennifer isn't happy. And most likely Nabil is also very unhappy. So she says that she doesn't want to have the marriage like her parents, where you stay married for 50 years and then realize 50 years later that this was a huge mistake. I wasted my life away. I could have been really enjoying myself doing other things somewhere else, possibly with someone else. So she doesn't want to have that kind of a marriage. So I don't know if she's hinting at a divorce or if she's trying to say that, they need to fix their marriage so that she doesn't feel like that, 50 years from now. She does admit that she still has a lot of anger about the affair. So like for 10 years, she's just been harboring this anger. And I guess that's the reason why, obviously I'm not saying anything new because she herself had said this many times on the show, or someone had said it, maybe not Jennifer, but I think it was Margaret that said it, that she was triggered by Margaret and Margaret cheating on her husband because that's what happened to her. And she has a lot of, unaddressed emotions, unaddressed issues regarding her husband's affair. And so Margaret just out there blatantly talking about it like it's so casual. Yeah, I cheated on my husband and I married the guy that I cheated with and it's no big deal. So that just really triggered Jennifer. And that's why she went so hard after Jennifer. And maybe she goes hard after Melissa, maybe because the mistress looks like Melissa. So that is where that episode ended. It was a cute little episode. We're going deep and heavy in Jennifer and Bill's marriage. And it's a lot because I keep thinking about the kids. You know, the kids have to also live this through on TV. If I don't know. Margaret was just wrong. I like Margaret, but she was just wrong for bringing this out. But if it was such a secret, it was so secretive and she didn't want nobody to know about it, how did Margaret come to find out about it? Margaret must have gotten the information from someone. And maybe that'll come out later in the season. I don't know. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to rate the video, leave a comment, and definitely subscribe. And I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.